Hello, I'm H.G. Tudor, continuing to educate you about narcissism using the prominent example, like the turd that just went flush, Harry's wife. What do I have in store for you now? Well, first of all, ears back, time to smash it, listen in. You live in a world of excess, where more is more, and less is much less. A day without fame is a waste, and a question of need is a question of taste. You're so flamboyant, the way you look, it gets you so much attention. Your sole employment is getting more. You want police intervention. You're so flamboyant, the way you live, you really care that they stare. And the press deployment is always there. It's what you do for enjoyment. You live in a time of decay, when the worth of a man is how much he can play. Every day, all the public must know where you are, what you do, because your life is a show, and you're so flamboyant, the way you live. And it's not even demeaning. You're so flamboyant, it's like a drug you use to give your life meaning. You're so flamboyant, the way you look, it gets you so much attention. Your sole employment is getting more. You want police intervention. Every actor needs an audience. Every action is a performance. It all takes courage, just you know it. Just crossing the street, well, it's almost heroic. You're so flamboyant. There you are, at another preview. In a pose, the artist and you. To look so loud may be considered tacky. Collectors wear black clothes by Issey Miyake. You're so flamboyant, the way that you look. It gets you so much attention. Your sole employment is getting more. You want police intervention. You're so flamboyant, the way you live. You really care that they stare. And the press deployment is always there. It's what you do for enjoyment. You're so flamboyant. You're so flamboyant. Now, some of you may recognise that that's the song Flamboyant by Pet Shop Boys, Neil Tennant and Chris Lowe. And it sums up rather neatly the way that Harry's wife goes on. Like any narcissist, she needs fuel. She needs to control people and gain the character traits and, of course, those residual benefits. Some narcissists are more forthright than others, more grandiose in their behaviours, more flamboyant, more thrusting, more direct. Others are particularly passive-aggressive, still obtaining the prime aims, but less front of centre. As you know from my extensive work, through my vast depository of videos and blog articles and books and material in the Knowledge Vault, that I categorise narcissists into subschools, ranging from lower lesser all the way up to and including your glorious narrator, the ultra. This expansive categorisation is done to demonstrate the various strands and flavours of narcissists, similarities but also differences, variations on a theme. Harry's wife, of course, is an individual, whereby she needs to get in front of everybody. It's often said that her eyes always manage to find the camera, that she has to ensure that she's the one that's in front, that everybody's looking at her. Thus she affords that sense of control and, of course, draws in the fuel. Note the instances where she's walked in front of Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II, where she's elbowed effectively, metaphorically, Prince Harry out of the way, where she leads and then grabs his hand and pulls him alongside her. The way that she talks over people, the way that she interrupts, the way, for instance, that she brings attention to herself when the Fab Four were being interviewed and she said, well, basically along the lines of, "Can I say something?" She always has to be heard. She always has to be seen. And of course, we have a brilliant example of that coming up in a video analysis. I'm going to play the footage to you. There's no sound included because generally it's just the hubbub of people talking and therefore you can't really distinguish what's being said. And it's not so much about what's being said, it's about what's being done. I'm going to play the footage for you twice so that you can watch it, examine it and make your own minds up, and then I will go back over it and analyse it for you. And you can see if your own conclusions have accorded with my own. Here comes the footage. Well, there you are. You've seen it twice, and no doubt you are applying your learning from your glorious narrator as to what you see there. Have you picked up on the various interactions, the various facets of narcissism? Let's find out as I now take you through the footage. Okay, so we see Prince Harry, who's engaging and talking to various people, talking to a man, and he's saying something, and there's an exchange, and then a close-up on Harry's wife's face, which is, I'm going to step in here. And in she goes, immediately taking over, pushing Harry out of the way, as she then introduces herself to the various people that are gathered, talking to them, Harry now in the background. Rudely, she has her back to him. He stands there, looking earnest, hands clasped together, looking like a bit part, and finally someone asks him something so that he's able to join in once again. But you can see from her behaviours that because Harry is the centre of attention, and she looks around, tries to join in, that her narcissism is basically saying, this is no good, you don't have control. And therefore, it moves her to cause her to think that she should now introduce herself to these people. Now, it might be the case that Harry was going to get around to doing that, but she can't wait, because she has no sense of boundary recognition. She operates, of course, with that rampant sense of entitlement. She needs to ensure that she, of course, is the one with the audience, that her every action is a performance, that she needs to ensure that she's there at another preview in a pose, the artist and you. So, as we've seen from her actions, Harry's talking, he's engaging in a conversation, and then she rudely, whilst people are still talking, just dives in. You can almost see the moment of hesitation, and that she seems to seek permission. And of course, Harry's not going to stand in the way, otherwise he knows that out will come the electric cattle prod on the old pink pods later, deflating them down to the old pink pancakes. And in she goes, chat with these individuals who are either tertiary or secondary. I suspect tertiary sources. She doesn't know who they are, and immediately jumps in. And she turns her back to Harry, which is the height of rudeness. She's interjected, stolen the limelight from him, has ensured, of course, that all eyes are on her. She's drinking in the fuel that's occasioned from these tertiary sources, and makes it seem like it's all about her, which of course it has to be. She cannot stand the fact that her husband is engaging in a conversation with people. She cannot stand to one side and just patiently wait. She has to jump in. But not only, notice, she doesn't just jump in terms of talking, she physically jumps in by moving into the centre of the circle with her back to her husband, which tells him exactly what he needs to know, although he won't pick up on it, which is, you're a nobody. I'm far more important than you. She doesn't acknowledge him. She's talking away. She doesn't turn and sort of say, oh, sorry, Harry, and move back beside him. No, not at all. She's lapping up all of the fuel, the assertion of control over these individuals. And as you can see from Harry's face, he seems uncertain. He is probably thinking, well, hang on a second. But he's not going to say anything for fear of what the retribution might be. But he becomes immediately relegated as she takes over. You can see he's somewhat nervous, edgy. Moved to relegated to second row Harry. And of course, she's there lapping it all up, talking away, moving in and stealing his thunder. And at the end, Harry looks as though either someone's spoken to him or he's making a valiant attempt to try to get back in there. So what do we see? Well, we see, of course, the threat to control posed by the fact that everybody's talking to Harry. We then see her need to assert control, both physically by moving into the centre of the group, by shaking hands with people. Yes, it's a normal greeting, but it's also a method of an assertion of control. We see her exhibiting a sense of entitlement, a lack of accountabilities for her behaviour. She is in effect devaluing Harry by this conduct, by triangulating him with the other men, by talking to them and ignoring him. She's showing a sense of entitlement by interrupting, which shows poor boundary recognition. She's demonstrating, of course, her need for fuel by engaging with these tertiary sources. She's showing an absence of accountability for her behaviour in operating this way. And, of course, there is facade management in terms of trying to be friendly and talking to these people. So, just this little snippet once again encapsulates so much of her narcissism and the way that it functions. I'm